Now, John, I haven't done a video in a while, and I suppose I'll post this to Linda too. Just an update to say that the roam around the halfpenny town is finished. I've decided that's enough is enough. I could keep going on it, but I'm not going to, because it'll just look overworked, and I have too much work to do anyway. So I have to stop on this piece of work. But it's come out nice, you know. I haven't had a chance to step away from it properly yet, but I think it's going to work. So that's it, finished. Maybe I should talk about the meaning, maybe not. The idea is based on my own recent over as an artist, is to identify certain prophecies at work in art history, and this is one of them. This is a work done by Bougereau. I'll show you the original painting now in a minute. It's called the Indigent Family, and when I seen it, I realised I was looking. It could have been a modern Dublin scene up around the Central Bank there on Dame Street. That, it's a typical Roma family begging on the streets. It's happening today. It's like a prophecy that's come true today in Dublin. So what I've done is I've elaborated upon the idea, and I've included a few things to make it a Dublin scene. So you have the Roma family there, sitting in the middle. I painted it as best I could. I'm not a master in any respect, so Bougereau, I'll never be as good as Bougereau, but I did my best. I put them sitting outside what looks like the Central Bank of Ireland up on Dame Street. You have the ATM, the Bank of Ireland ATM there. There's a homeless person down there, boots just sticking in. Right, I'll explain that in a minute. There's graffiti on the wall. There's a Dublin bin with lots of different paraphernalia that's typical of the corruption and the vice that you'd find on Dublin streets. It leans towards a dark subject, like a dark side of society, in this nefarious underworld. But it's not so nefarious anymore. It's not so underworldly anymore. It's in your face when you go into the city centre. I'll talk about some of the things in this, but the idea here is like it's a typical Roma family who are aggressive begging now. In my opinion, the begging that they're doing, it's a criminal. It should be criminalised. They're con artists, and they're defrauding people out of money when they're not so desperately in poverty as they would have you believe. There was a News Herald report that found that one Roma family sent back €38,000 through Western Union to their family at home 1 month. It was just it was a travesty, a shocking travesty. Now there's problems left, right and centre with the Roma aggressive beggars in the city centre. I'm not right. People are going to call me ignorant. I'm ill-informed and ignorant and racist. Well, I'm not racist. There is a problem within the Roma community of a certain contingent. There's a certain group of the immigrants who are just they're just doing it with impunity now. They're doing it in the face even of the Gardaí are turning their blind eye to it, like nothing is being done. So, I don't blame them in a sense. They can earn thousands and thousands of pounds. They're gonna do it, but it's ultimately wrong. So you have this family here. You'll notice about the child that the idea of all these immigrants coming in, the child is essentially Irish. It's an Irish citizen. It's born in Ireland, so it's an Irish citizen. It's surrounded by the colours green, white and orange. It's enveloped in the tricolour to embody its citizenship, but unfortunately it's being brought up by a subculture in their communities that are teaching the children to lie and cheat. Like there's no suggestion of any integration with the immigrant communities in Irish society. They're not contributing to our culture. You can see there the little girl in a very surreptitious way is sticking her fingers up. She's just doing like a really natural gesture, but it looks like she's sticking her fingers up at society, and that's the way they're being brought up by the parents. They're being indoctrinated into this idea that you can stick your hand out and get money for nothing. You probably don't even have to speak the English language. The young man there, he's doing the same. right? His finger is extended. We all know what that means. So it's just about the corruption going on around that. Now I didn't go out of my way to pick on the Roma. It just occurred to me in the original Boozeroo that this is the Roma. This is about the Roma in Dublin City. So I didn't go out of my way. I don't normally dwell on this, but the subject came up, so I'm just going to highlight some of the things that might be happening. So you have, next to the Western Union, you have the Social Welfare Office, and also it's a comment on Irish society as well, the drink culture. You have the social welfare, the welfare state, the culture around that. You have the social welfare, and next door to it is an off licence. That would be a comment about to the Irish people. They call the bank up there the drink link. It's embedded in their blood, and it's about vice and just corruption in general, and it makes the city a filthy place to be. So there it is. In the litter, in the bus car, you'll see a few obscure references. I've used the King Crisps before to connote Christianity and the Messiah. I like the Messiah. Well, the idea of the King and Christianity and our religious and moral fabric of society, it's in the rubbish. It's in the rubbish heap, literally. Along with other things, you have Mary Robinson's candle when she says, light a candle in the window for all the immigrants coming in the Fianna Fáil era, back in the 90s when this all started coming about. Well, the candle is being snuffed out and it's being trashed. The whole idea is rubbish now that we know what's come in. So you have like this, there was a famous Fianna Fáil slogan, "Welcome to Fianna Fáil country." Well, yeah, that's in the rubbish there as well. And of course there's no fodder on the Fáil, so it's Fianna Fáil country. About the Irish culture, it's the only time you'd see is the golden harp. I often read the Bible and I hear about the angels playing the harp. For God, I think that's a reference to the country of Ireland, that they have a destiny and an inheritance with God, and the angels are going to come and play the harp. The angels will be at work in Ireland in the future because of our cultural. We're notorious for charity work and humanitarian work, and we're not a warring nation. We're pretty decent people. But the only time you see reference to the harp nowadays is on a beer can, the Guinness can, and that's in the rubbish as well. Down here, I'll talk about the graffiti and come back to this, but you have like Druids, this cheap cider. Druids is a huge reference to the Irish nation, the Celtic nations. You have there's other of my own experiences. There's other little references to things I've experienced with the homeless beggars. You have a cup of tea there, a polystyrene cup and a sandwich. And that's based on something I experienced. I was with my girlfriend once, and she seen a family like this just begging outside the shop, and my girlfriend went in and she bought a sandwich and a cup of tea for them. And when she gave it to them, they opened up the sandwich and mauled it, and they threw it on the ground in front of her. They says, "We don't fucking want that, we don't like that, we're not hungry." So they opened up this sandwich and threw it at her feet, and said, "We don't want this. Give us money," basically they were saying. And we were in shock. We were walking away in shock. Any decent person would say, "Thanks very much, but no thanks. You eat yourself. You're very kind, but I'm not hungry. What I need is money." But they opened up the sandwich and they threw it at our feet on the ground with a cup of tea. It was a terrible thing. And you hear stories all the time of little things like this happening to people. The good and decent people in society, that they have to put up with this. There was recently a woman was spat in the face from one of the Roma immigrants because she didn't have any money. She was apologising, saying, "I'm sorry, I have no change," blah blah blah. The woman spat in her face. She ended up having to go to hospital and put on this, the emergency intensive antibiotic, so she didn't get infected with any diseases because she spat in her eyes. the mucus went into her eyes. That was on the radio recently. So yeah, it's annoying to hear about this. So the work is illustrating some of them ideas. It's not a very popular thing. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, you're being over exaggerating and you're racist and everything." Well, I'd beg to differ. There's many stories that haven't been told yet about what exactly goes on the streets of Dublin. But you know, it's about corruption and the idea of the immigrants coming in. They're not homeless. They're not destitute. They're not so destitute that their children have no shoes on their feet. You know, that level of poverty doesn't exist anymore. They have everything they need, and if they need any more, they have plenty of support services to turn to. They don't need to put their hand out for money. That's my opinion anyway. So some of the things reflect that. But over here, now this idea of a homeless man, he's an anonymous homeless man poking his feet in. He's actually dead, you know. He's dedicated to the man. I've been looking for the news reports on this man that died outside the Dáil. This homeless man who froze to death. It was a travesty. I looked on all the reports and you can't even find his name. Like he's so faceless and voiceless. He's so anonymous that the media won't even mention his name. He's just known as a man, a 40-year-old man from Navan or something. That's all they would say about him. But God bless him, you know. So that represents him, and you can see he's right directly beneath the bank. So he's beneath the money system. He's beneath the welfare system. He's a non-entity. You know, where was the Herald and RTE doing these investigative documentaries on the Roma community in Dublin? Why didn't they turn their spotlight on this man and highlight his life? You know, these people are in the spotlight, getting all the media attention, but absolutely is nothing being done. Where is the story of the man who was about to die? You know, why is there no intervention in his life on the streets of Dublin? That's what I'd say. So it's also, I'm not going to complain here, but it's also close to my heart because when I was mentally ill, I faced a number of days homeless. And it was a really sharp shock for me. The level of frustration just being homeless, just having nowhere to go and nobody to turn to. I was turned away from a hostel. I had to wait, I think it was 12 hours to see a social worker. And because I was unlucky enough to have my trouble and to have my emergency outside office hours, so I had to wait till the next day. So I was up in the Mater Hospital in A&E just waiting my time, and the amount of junkies and dark characters that were surrounding me and harassing me up there just in the wait alone was a travesty. When I got to see the social worker, she arranged for me to go up to the Avalon House up past Georgia Street there, and so I walked over right with all my stuff. I was homeless. I went over to the Avalon House, and when I got there, the guy at the desk says, "Oh, sorry, yeah, I was talking to the social worker," he said, "but unfortunately she didn't reserve a bed for you, so all the beds are gone now," he said, and I was turned away. Now I know deep down in the bottom of my heart that he was only trying to get rid of me. He probably had 5 or 10 beds upstairs, you know. He was just telling me anything to get me out of the place. It's because I was a Dublin man. I was homeless, so they look down on you. They think you're north side Dublin, you're a junkie, obviously. So, you know, just get rid of him. But I was in a terrible state. I was in such need of desperate help, and I got nothing. But I understand. I was lucky enough to, after a couple of days, I had to go back to the environment that I ran from. It was a very negative environment that I was trying to escape, but I had to go back to that place where I was being abused, and I just walked in the door exhausted. I had no choice, but that's what that's about. So I pity. My heart goes out to all the people on the streets. Definitely, it's a terrible thing, you know. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. I'm tuning into this whole the political arguments and what's going on in politics recently, and you know, it's a travesty what's going on. So some of the graffiti on the wall reflects that. You know, he's schizophrenic. I was going to put O'Neill's, you know, footwear to denote just an Irish man. He's wearing Irish sportswear, and I realised that the word O'Neill's means one ills. So one is ill, you know. It's a reference to mental illness. He's not a junkie. He's not. He doesn't drink. He's not on drugs. You know, he's just a little bit mentally ill, and he needs help, and he gets none. But that's what that's about. Skits Ascension. That was about me. Um, the idea of by cracking up, you wake up and you become more holy. But for but for the majority of the other people, the idea of ascension is their soul is leaving their body. You know, their soul is gone and gone up to heaven. They're dead on the street, and they're left for dead. So that's a bit of graffiti. Skits. The other graffiti is it's just a mishmash of different ideas that I just put in there to express some ideas, I suppose. So that's about. Part of my illness was conspiracy theory. I fell into some serious trouble on YouTube with the things I was tuned into, conspiracy theory and Freemasonic conspiracies and the whole New World Order shebang. Well, that's what that's about. That's my own opinion about what's going on in the conspiracy corner. It's you know, God is not a cyclops, so that would be a tongue-in-cheek criticism of Freemasonry. And also the money system, you know, the capitalist pyramid there is it's the dollar bill. So people are worshipping money like it's God. Well, you know, God is not a cyclops. You know, he's a living man, and by 2020 we'll all see it clearly. So and there's some other bits and pieces. I put a fine Michael Sarri in there, right? That's just, it looks like a typical piece of graffiti on an Irish Dublin wall. These are the ideas that bounce around. I remember that one. That was from years ago. Toxic superstition. I've seen that one day, and it's the idea. It's just Antichrist. You know, it's just to destroy the idea of God and religion and faith and everything. You know, the Antichrist roams free. There's a part in the Bible that talks about the city has become a cage for every unclean bird, and every foul spirit roams the streets. So you know, there's a very interesting conversation going on the walls of Dublin between all the different factions, and some of the ideas that come up. It's just like the tree is known by its fruits, and some of the ideas that come up, they're so corrupt. But they come from the underworld, you know. So that's one of them. Toxic superstition. It's about faith in God. And being a religious man, or religious life. So so that one there, that's about Freemasonry. Michael Sarri is a man who's he's in the he studies the occult and conspiracy theory, and he's hell-bent against Freemasonic conspiracies and the New World Order. Well, his work is based around. One of his works was the Irish origins of civilization, and it's an epic piece of work that he did. He's a very good researcher, and he's a very good at presenting his ideas. So down here, it's related. The reason I put the Druids cider there. It's the only time you'll see it on the streets of Dublin is on a can of alcohol, you know. But Michael Sarri is telling the Irish people, you know, that they were the original Jewish people. That you know, we were a very advanced society way back into that dark mist of history. Our religion it wasn't exactly a religion, but it was the Druid religion. You know, we were ancient Celts, and it's where the word the Juden come from. He reckons we were the first men of the yew tree, the Juden. So we are the roots of the Jewish people. And that's why I put up here in my own words, it's a little prayer. In Hebrew, the Holy Tongue, it's Hamashiach Magia. Amen al Ha'emeth. Right, so it says, you know, the Messiah is coming. Amen to the truth. And it's, of course, I'm using the language of colour as well. It's written in blue like the sky, so it's a part of the heavens. And it's come down from heaven that that's the truth, that the Messiah is coming. So So God bless Michael Tarian. He's a bit of a grumpy man. He's a bit of a dark-minded grumpy man sometimes, but his work is important and you should examine it. So another thing that's connected to the conspiracy stuff is this. It's got me into so much trouble, and it's just Google 9/11 hidden in Hollywood and you'll understand why. I think I'm on the CIA watch list probably because of it, and it's made me really unwell at times. It's there's nothing more I can say. I'll get in trouble if I go into too much detail, but if you have the guts to tread the path that's not so much trodden, then look up 9/11 hidden in Hollywood and try and take it seriously, and don't just dismiss it, and try and see why it's so important and why so many people are talking about it under bated breath. So yeah, so that's it. What else is there? There's a story. Now I told you a story before of I even left the laces out of the shoes. That's specific to my own experience on the Dublin streets with the beggars and the homeless and everything. I'll tell you the story. It's a bit of a long story, and it might sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet for the sake of looking good, but there's a moral to the story here, and it's specific to this painting as well. I remember I met a destitute young man. He must have been like 20, mid-20s. He was so destitute. It was an icy cold, winter's day, icy cold, freezing rain. He didn't have a coat on. He only had a shirt on, and he didn't even have laces in his shoes. Right, and Jesus, I was in shock. So it's, geez, you okay? What's your story? You know? He says, why are you like that? He says, I says, do you need help? I says, do you have any family to go to? You can't stay like this. You're gonna freeze to death. I said. He says, no, I have no family. I'm on my own. I says, right, come on with me. So I took him, right. I took him pretty much by the hand, stood step by step beside him down to the pennies shop, you know, where you get all the cheap clothes. It happened to be a Wednesday when I got paid me disability allowance. Well, I took him down and I bought him a whole outfit, a whole kit, from shoes, socks, jeans, underwear, t-shirts, shorts, jumper, and even a heavy winter coat, right? So I bought him a whole kit from top to bottom. I was walking around Penny saying, do you like this, do you like that? And like, he was turning down some. He says, no, I don't like this, I'll go for this one, right? So I gave him a blank check, and it was pretty much all of me week's wages. I think I had a tenner left for myself. Now, while I was shopping with him, like, there was two black men in the shop beside me, and they noticed what I was doing, and they were laughing at me saying, is he your son? Is he your son? Ha ha. You know, and I just said to them, look, he's God's son, right? And walked away. Like, they were having a good sneering joke about it. So I tried to help the young man, and when we came out of the shop, he was wearing all the gear and all his old rags were in a little plastic bag. He asked me, before he left me, says, can I have the receipt for all this stuff? And I was a little bit surprised. I didn't understand why he was asking for it. I says, why do you want that? He says, if the police stop me, he said, they're going to say I robbed all this stuff, so I need the receipt to prove that it belongs to me, right? So I says, right, fair enough. I says, there's the receipt, now go on, be on your way and God be with you. And he says, yeah, right, I have to go because I'm meeting my brother at 2 o'clock. Right, and then I thought, Jesus, hang on, you just told me he has no family, and now all of a sudden he's meeting his brother, right? When I got home and told my mum this, I still didn't understand what all that meant. When I was telling my mum, she was nearly crying. She says, you're so naive, you were taken in and had completely. The reason he asked for the receipt back is the minute you walk away from him, he's going to go back into pennies and get all the cash back for everything you bought him, right? He wants drugs, so he's going to go in and get the money back and spend it on drugs. That's the reason why he wanted a receipt, and that's the reason why he lied to you about his family. He knew he could get something out of you, so he was just giving you a spiel. And this is the sad part of the works like this, that the idea that every time you go into the city centre you're used and abused, or you know, every time you stick yourself outside the door, you're accosted in some way by some dark-minded individual on the street. It's a mess today. It really is. I have nothing against the young man. You know, I hope he's still alive somewhere. He might be living a really long life doing that to many people for many long days, but he's just a helpless victim of the system, I think, and there's nothing that can be done. I haven't since then, God forgive me, I haven't given a single penny to charity since then. I used to give a little bit, but not now, not the way things are. So that's the story of a roam around the hapenny town. That's the experience, and that's what you'll see. And it's been touched on in art history before, in prophetic visions from genius artists who are warning you of things to come. So I take it seriously. So that's it. What else? Oh yeah, the last thing. Do you see these works that I'm doing now? I couldn't help but put my paintbrushes in the bin. Right, I painted my paintbrushes in the bin. Now that's that's part of a New World Order conspiracy thing, that I'm convinced that there's a conspiracy against people who go into the third level colleges, that the colleges are there only to use you and abuse you and stifle talent and get rid of all the unwanted ones early on. It's what happened to me in first year in college. They told me to break my brushes and throw them in the bin. That's what they told me, because I'll never make it as anything in art. You know, that's what they said to me. So there, that's the tutor's name was Ed something or other. First year, Dunleary College of Art and Design. He told me to throw my brushes in the bin, right? So I mean, he's probably a homosexual fucking modern artist who can't draw or paint to save his life. Or there's some really deep conspiracy going on in them colleges against people who are just the unsavoury, unwanted ones, that they want to destroy talent and enthusiasm. They want you all to be middle class, mediocre, to be used by the corporations, and that's the way it is. So so that's it. This is called a roam around the hapenny town. Goodbye.